Ever since the fire, the Armstrong family has been trying to find out what caused it. They do not believe reports that it was accidental, even though officials stand by it. Assisted by private investigator Steve Navoychek, we asked around.
Case is closed as far as I'm concerned. I don't have any evidence, physical or whatever, to believe that there was a crime committed down there.
Kent Handy thinks his two brothers, sister, and cousin, 7 to 16 years old, perished at the hands of an arsonist, that someone firebombed the house after a terroristic visit there looking for someone they had a grudge against.
It's a motive that they come there to kill my mother's boyfriend. Maybe because he wasn't there, he just taking away who else.
Is there any tension that you're aware of in the
town?
town?
They was tension up there that night. You know, I tell you, they blew this thing up, and there's 2 or 3 of them, you know, playing for all the. If you listen to them, they listen, yep.
You have already stated that you have nothing to do with the Klan at all.
Do not. Never have.
Where does the Klan meet?
I have no idea.
Do you know if people in the
The
county?
only one I went to was one up on the end of the county, and I think y'all covered it pretty well when, what's his name, came out there.
Right, was that at Tonkin Bend or around that
It's
area?
north of McCrory, around Tupelo.
Are you a member of the KKK?
I was a long time ago, but it's not active no more.
The family says this man, Buddy Holler, came to their house the night before the fire, angry. Paula Armstrong says he had a long-barreled gun and was looking for her troublemaking boyfriend, Floyd White. You have a falling out with him or anything like that?
No, ma'am.
You did not go to that house with a flashlight and a gun?
No, ma'am.
Never?
No, ma'am.
You do not know who started that fire at that house? As far as you know, it was accidental?
Yes, ma'am. Now, some boy, there was a Cunningham boy. There was a Cunningham boy living in the back.
Mm-hmm. Shopping
And somebody said that he wouldn't hook that gas line up that way. I don't know what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And the fire department, they shipped it all to it, and they said it started from that.
Records show the utilities in the house had been shut off. Originally, investigators ruled that an illegally rigged line to the gas main had caused a leak, turning the house into a bomb. But state PSC investigators later ruled that out, saying there was no evidence that gas was getting to the house. The family says they used wood stoves for heating. But if you have a state fire marshal who is saying this fire was caused by a gas leak, and then that ruling is in effect overturned by people who are more expert in pipeline safety, then you have an unsolved case.
You have a wood-burning heater.
But you're not qualified to make that
That's
decision.
right. I'm not
You already
making it.
said
I'm not making it.
Who is?
Ray should be.
But he hasn't. So at this point, you have an unsolved case still, in terms of the cause,
Determining where the hot spot was or the cause?
determining the cause of the fire. Helmut Uverich, people call him Bobo, has been a volunteer fireman here for more than 40 years. He was there that night.
I'll tell you what, there's one thing that struck me as being odd that nobody else seemed to think about it. Even Ray, I don't know if Ray even noticed it. But at the front door, where when Dwayne walked in, he was lucky that he missed the place that burned out in the field, right near the front door, which is very unusual.
There abound in Augusta rumors about a former jail inmate helping destroy evidence before the fire marshal's arrival, about the neighbors having seen 3 strangers around the house before the fire, of having heard a series of explosions. We talked with several townspeople who witnessed the fire, some obviously nervous about talking with us on camera.
I'm not trying to get no innocent people hooked up on nothing, thinking nothing like that. Sure, we would have left it alone. But at the same time, living with this every day, knowing within ourselves that it wasn't like that, we want to see some justice done about it.
Deborah Mathis, News Scene 7, Augusta.
We believe through a decent investigation, it'll be proven.
All right, peace and blessings. All praises to the Most High. And this is another episode of Taylor House Publishing, where we're bringing the voice of the voiceless into the minds of the masses. And in this case, it's the family and the children of Miss Armstrong, who were murdered and burned in a house fire in Augusta, Arkansas in 1984. Those children, Bryan Armstrong, 7, Curtis Armstrong, 8, Ryan Armstrong, 11, Tracy Armstrong, 13, and Otis Valentine, who's a cousin, 16 years old, all burned alive in that fire, presumably set by some members of the Klan from the neighboring town 11 miles away. And I'm going to give you some backstory on the incident. The young man in the video, Kent Handy, you see him, the last man talking. He is the brother of his younger siblings, and the son who has continued to fight for years, for almost 40 years, for justice for his siblings after he believed that they were shot and killed, if I believe so, from the information that he gave me, and then burned alive in the house, and they tried to blame it on a house fire. And I'm going to show you 2 more videos. I wish I could show you the pictures, because even in the pictures, the deceased burnt body pictures, one child is doing like this. His body is burnt like this. Another child from the bottom, he looks like he has been castrated. And so this story, as you hear from the participants, is full of racism. You even heard the sheriff admit that, I don't know where the Klan meets, but the last meeting I went to was up the road a while back. And then the man that you saw in the video, who was accused of coming to the house the night before with the shotgun, looking for the mother's boyfriend, Floyd White. And I'm going to tell you about him. He said, I was in the Klan, but I'm not anymore. Like, that is something that you can't turn off and turn back on. Now, also, you hear the sheriff being questioned by the wonderful black reporter saying, look, y'all said it was a gas leak. The electricity was turned off in the house. And then the experts overruled your state examiner, saying that this was a gas leak hooked up by, a faulty main and somehow nigger rigged to bring power to the house. They said, no, the gas wasn't getting to the house. And then so that was overruled. And now he said, well, it was a wood burning stove. But why did your guys rule it a leaky gas leak? Because they probably thought that the black people in the little town of Augusta, Arkansas, wasn't going to look into it. And also you heard Bobo. Bobo is the white man, said, well, something that they didn't notice is, and I find it strange, is that the whole front door was burned around, meaning in my opinion, they burned those kids in the door. They trapped them in with the fire. Now, why did they do that? Mr. Handy, and we're going to bring him on the show, tells me that his stepfather, Floyd White, he went around stealing like fertilizer, some sort of fertilizer. Arkansas is an agricultural town, so the fertilizer was worth like $1,500 a barrel or a bag or something. So he would go steal them and then sell them to other farmers. He was trying to just make a living, not condoning it. Nevertheless, he got caught because one batch that he stole, he sold to the cousin of the man he stole it from. And so that's how he got caught. Even though he did 3 years, he got locked up and did the town. Those white men in Arkansas made a pact that said, when we comes out, we're still going to get him. We're going to get him. And nevertheless, Kent Handy's mother stayed with him. She stayed with him. And because she stayed with them, they became the source of numerous attacks financially. He mentioned how they would spike their water bills and their electric bills so high, like $700 a month back then, that she would go and complain, and then they would threaten her. So basically that is why the power was cut off then. And they were looking for Floyd White, and they came to the house. They said they were looking for him, and they didn't find him. Now, the Kent Handy said when they got to the scene, because him and his brother was out at a juke joint, And they came back, and when they got to the scene, they saw 3 white men coming out of the building with guns. And we're going to see in the next video that you see how they actually prevented Kent's brother, Dwayne, from trying to go in there and save the kids. They actually maced him. They pulled a gun out of him because they didn't want him to see those bodies. And the family never got to see those bodies. They just got to saw pictures. And if I could show you the pictures, I would. But of course, they are too horrific to show. But it clearly shows one child like this. And another article I read said that one child was found under a bed, and another child was found trying to get under a bed. If your house is on fire, you're not going to hide under a bed. Those children was hiding from those white men with guns who knew their mother was a few blocks away, and she was going to pick up one of her other children from somewhere. But just watch this next video. It's going to give you more insight into the evil nature of these people that did that to these children. Just check this one out.
Friends and relatives of the Armstrong family said law enforcement officials waved guns at the scene of the fire Friday night. Some bystanders said police even sprayed mace into the eyes of one man who was attempting to save the children inside the burning house. But police said by that time it was too late to save the children and said the man was taking an unnecessary risk.
He got maced to keep him getting killed.
Sheriff Tracy said the crowd had turned violent.
When they go talking about guns, going home and get his gun, then that's just before getting out of hand. That's when we went and got our shotguns out of the cars. And I told Floyd if he come back on the street with a gun, he'd be a dead man. And he would.
According to the sheriff, the fire was caused by a gas line that had been illegally hooked up.
If you've got a wood-burning stove and you've got gas coming into your house too, with the apparatus they had hooked up on it, you've got a bomb, a 5-room bomb.
But Paula Armstrong, the mother of the victim, said she didn't know anything about the hookup.
But I'd like to know, how can it be an explosion when there wasn't no gas?
The sheriff said he wasn't sure who rigged up the gas meter, but he did say that after some investigation, the county prosecuting attorney could be forced to press criminal charges. Kelly Minton, News Scene 7, Woodruff County.
Now you can actually see in that white man's face, just like, he said, as far as I'm concerned, the case is closed. He said if Floyd went back to get his gun, I told Floyd he'd be a dead man. That's what it would have been. Now Floyd lived in the house, so where would he be going back to get his gun from? Those, according to the brothers that I spoke to, that those white sheriffs already had their guns out. And they maced the guy going because they didn't want him to get into. They said they went and they started, chopping at the house with the axe, and they prevented them from going in and trying to save the children because they did not want to see the condition those children's body was into. And also, he's continuing to say that there was a water, an electric gas main that they hooked up, but the mother said there was no gas in the house. So even if they did something, there was no gas coming to the house. And so they continuously saying that they heard explosions. My belief is probably those explosions were gunshots. Those were gunshots. Now let's look at this last video before I give you some final information on this situation.
Someone murdered my kids last night. 4 of my babies.
Everybody hit the bomb when they exploded.
Someone murdered my kids.
Paula Armstrong says she had to use 2 wood-burning stoves to keep her 4 children and nephew warm. The Augusta utility company shut off her electricity and gas last month for non-payment. The stoves are being blamed for this morning's fire that killed the children, ages 6 to 17, while she went to her mother's to pick up her other child.
They was awake when it happened. And my little nephew, 16, Otis, he was at the door in the bedroom, standing beside the dresser. And my little 6-year-old boy, Bryan, and Curtis and Ryan, they was in the same position they was sitting. They were all awake. They was not asleep. And something happened.
Firefighters say the fire began at about 1 a.m. and they arrived within minutes, but that the roof had already caved in. They say the children were in the front bedroom and engulfed. The victim's brother disagrees.
I was the only one trying to rescue him. Everybody else standing out here, they didn't try to do nothing.
So I run up here all the way from the end up here, and I come up here in this room right here. See this room right here? We just blocked out. Yeah, they had guns and all this stuff here too. So the room here is blocked out. They tell me don't. They trying to hold me back.
Grieving relatives were kept from the scene by police while they continue their investigation. Witnesses say they heard 2 explosions before the fire. Chris Phillips, News Scene 7, Augusta.
And there you see once again their grieving mother saying like they were sitting up, and Kent told me that the guy that was the 16-year-old that was standing up by the dresser, they said he had his fist balled up, and so that is a defensive position. Running under a bed is a defensive position. Trying to get under a bed is a defensive position. Those kids wouldn't have just sat there and let the house burn in on them. They would have tried to escape. So this is a case that has yet to be concluded. My man Kent Handy, he sent me a lot of information. I would show you those pictures. Maybe I can show them, on another platform. But those pictures are horrific. But keep in mind, this happened in 1984, 6 years after I was born. And you have card-carrying Klansmen, the sheriff of that town, saying, yeah, the last meeting I went to was over at such and such. And the other white man said that, I was a member. And you can hear him talk. They said, well, yeah, there was a boy back there. There was a boy back there, Cunningham. And they said he had hooked up something. So they were still calling black men boy in Arkansas in 1984, which is 40 years ago. So this case, once again, is horrific. Now, the state pathologist who said that, they died of smoke inhalation, he was later fired because they were paying him to give out false death certificates. And even in this case, Kent said he had stopped at a store. A relative, his mother, had stopped at a store, and in the back, the guy was on the phone with the pathologist, or they had like death certificates, and they was like, okay, does this look good to you? Is this okay to say? And so they were basically lying, just like that person, that state electrical person who said that the fire started by a gas leak, in which it was overruled by another expert. So this shows you the level of collusion that they have in those small towns, in those states, those racist states, where they can just make everybody complicit. The state examiner, the sheriff, the pathologist, the electrical person, all of those people collude and say, okay, well, yeah, this is what we're going to say happened, and nobody bats an eye. And as you heard them in the first video, trying to get some black people to talk on camera, and some of them wouldn't talk. But shout out to that black reporter for standing on business. And we're going to bring Kent on. He's been fighting. He's written a book about it. And I probably will read the book now. I told him, I don't think I have time to read a book, but I think I will read that book to get some more insight on it. But my brother has been fighting. Shout out to Kent Handy. And we're going to probably bring him on so you can actually hear from his own mouth of the climate down there in Arkansas and how they wanted his, stepfather dead. So since they couldn't get to him, they decided to punish innocent children. And this shows the evil of the white race during that time, and the even more complicity of other white people to cover up such an incident as this. But y'all see the number 919-587-7782. Thank y'all for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. And as always, peace and blessings.